it isn't trying. Science works with probability and with self-correction. Religion, ultimately, I know I am right, and I'm not allowing anything else. This is what is so devastating to try to talk to anybody who is a person of faith. You can't get anywhere, because they'll weasel out just about anything you try to offer by inventing new and different interpretations and new passages of the Bible and whatnot. And everybody else, of course, is wrong, except the one person who's looking at it. That kind of system, I think, cannot be possibly science.
Well, he said science is self-correcting. I agree. I happen to like science quite a bit. But see, the creation view doesn't have to be constantly corrected because it's right. Okay? I like the answer that the one gentleman gave. He said, obviously, the computer is here because of man, because of intelligence. I mean, obviously, this took a designer. Well, duh. So did the universe. So did the single cell in your body. So did every living creature. I mean, you can't explain the computer inside the computer, can you? And you can't explain the creation inside the creation. There has to be something above an intelligent designer. And you talk about devastating to talk to a person of faith. What you said a few sentences earlier was, or what the other gentleman said was, of course we don't see changes. Farmers have been raising dogs for, 4,000 years, and we don't see changes because it takes too long. If you don't see faith in there, I can't help you, okay? You are relying on the unseen. Oh yes, long ago and far away. Evolution has got to be the biggest fairy tale for adults ever created. Everything you said required faith. Well, we see dogs produce dogs, but if you give them billions of years, okay. You just left science and went to religion and didn't even see it. You didn't even see what happened in your mind. And one of you teaches a course on logic. I mean, if this was a student of yours doing this, you'd give them an F. And yet your fellow professors believe it and you think it's great. They jump from faith to science back and forth all the time. Well, we see dogs produce dogs, but if we had enough time... Oh, stop. You're leaving science right that moment. So, if I got 3 minutes, let me just cover a couple things that I resent being in the textbooks, and I would like to hear if this is in your textbook. My question is this in your textbook? And after I share with you the evidence, I want to know why, okay? This textbook says many organisms retain traces of their evolutionary history. For example, the whale retains pelvic and leg bones as useless vestiges. Earlier, it was mentioned one of the evidences for evolution is vestigial organs. Andrew Carnegie left behind millions of dollars to start an organization called the National Center for Science Education, of which you are a part, okay? The National Center for Science Education. I was in Berkeley last week. 147 professors at Berkeley refused to debate me. Jeannie Scott won't debate me for any amount of money on the planet. Here's Jeannie Scott right here. I'll fly out at my expense and take them all on. This is welcome to the home page of National Center for Science Education. A tax-exempt non-profit membership organization working to defend the teaching of evolution against sectarian attack. We are a nationally recognized clearinghouse for information and advice to keep evolution in the classroom and scientific creationism out. The National Center for Science Education is a little bitty storefront building in Berkeley, California. I was there 4 days ago, and they got 5 people working in this little building. And they teach that maybe the cow evolved into the whale. That's what their literature teaches. This textbook says the whale has a pelvis and a leg bone. Whales have hind limb bones that have no function. Just imagine whales walking around. It's true. These are the bones they're talking about right there. Just imagine the whale walking around. I'm sorry, I tried and I can't, okay? They say the whale's pelvis has no apparent function. The whale's pelvis is evidence of its evolution from 4-legged land-dwelling mammals. This is simply a lie, okay? Those little bones are anchor points that special muscles attach to that allow the whales to reproduce. This has nothing to do with whales walking on land. It has to do with making baby whales. So either the authors of this textbook are ignorant about whale anatomy and certainly shouldn't be talking about it, or they're deliberately lying to you and desperate for evidence for their theory. So my question is very simple. Does your textbook teach the whale has a vestigial pelvis? If so, why would you use a biology book in your biology class at a famous university like this based on an author that doesn't even understand his basic anatomy of whales, and he's either lying to the students or he's ignorant? Why would you use something like that? And how could a vestigial structure be evidence for evolution when that's an example of losing, not gaining? It doesn't tell you how the whale got the legs. Oh, it's slowly losing them. Well, in the first place, it's not slowly losing them, okay? It's a lie. Secondly, even if it was, that's the opposite of evolution. How on earth can this be evidence for a theory? Yes, boys and girls, we're slowly losing things. That's how we got it all. Well, duh. So, my question is simple. Does your book teach there are vestigial structures, specifically the whale having a vestigial pelvis? If it does, why would you use a book like that in a university like this?
Excuse me, sir, it's just a quick reminder. I'll turn your mic on in just a second. We're going to go to an intermission in one more iteration. So, yes, absolutely. Your table. We're going to go to intermission after that.
The book does not teach that the whale has a vestigial pelvis. That's one of the most ignorant statements I'd ever heard. The pelvis is an absolute necessary thing for the whale. He attaches all of his muscles to it. It's one of the major things that helps him swim. I happen to be keeping up with what's going on with the evolution of the whale, and we have a very good set of bones saved from fossil records showing that the whales evolved through a long period of time from animals that were on land to animals that are in the water. We have that evidence. And to say we don't have it or to say that we're lying is disingenuous to this audience. I ask you, don't believe me. Let me get off the subject a second. Right up there are the things we try to do in science. We say, let's not believe revelation. If somebody just says, I know because I know. No, that's not good enough. Believe authority. No, let's not believe authority. Let's not believe any of us up here at the table. You folks can get the copy of this book or this thing here and get the facts. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe him. You can find out for yourself. You don't have to trust authorities, even me. The second thing is tradition. You don't have to trust tradition. Come on, there's different traditions all over the world. But we can trust science because science should be the same all over the world. What I'm trying to say to you is when I teach my classes, evidence is what's important. I have no evidence that God exists. I have no evidence that there was a Noah's Ark. I have no evidence that there was an Adam and Eve. I have evidence that whales evolved from animals that live on land, and I can prove it.
Well, we do have, I haven't had anything to say. There's a lot of talking going on, and that's unusual for me. But the one thing that we can prove by the great philosophical statement, cogito ergo sum in Latin, which says, I think, therefore I am. Now what that says is that I exist and prove that I am there because I can think. But it doesn't necessarily say that you exist. I can't prove that you exist, but I can prove that I exist. And I also know that I'm here. And I do believe in you. There's a high probability that I do believe in you, and you are here. And somehow you got here. And somehow this happened probably in the last time between 10 and 20 billion years ago, probably to the record of the Earth, which was maybe 4 to 6 billion years ago. And basically all of this biological stuff is very interesting, and it does prove to how science brings about to cause things to happen, but it's so complicated, and it's so complicated that you can confuse the process by misinterpreting the results. We do have, as my colleagues say, the scientific method, and it based on the best information that we can put together to form to what we know is true. It doesn't mean that we know the truth. It means we have maybe some probability of the truth, and that may be the best that we will always have. But to start talking about chickens and dinosaurs, and I like eating chickens because chickens are descendants of dinosaurs, and every time I eat a chicken, it makes me happy. Because I think a lot of them ate our ancestors a long time